Alright, how's it going everybody? Hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to do kind of a special video since it's my 50th video. I'm going to show you guys what ingredients are going into your fragrances, so how they're made. This isn't going to be necessarily a tutorial, but I can always do one of those in the future. But if you're ever wondering what kind of ingredients they're using to make different scents that are in all of your favorite perfumes or colognes, then I'm your guy. Yeah, I mean, obviously here you can see this is most of the fragrance ingredients that I use when I make perfumes and colognes for my perfumery. So there's a lot to choose from, and there's different reasonings for each of them, and it takes a long time to learn how each of them interact with each other and what to use in what situations. But it's a lot of fun. If you ever want to get into perfumery, I can link some awesome channels in the description. But for right now, let's just get into it. I'll kind of show you how I organize everything, and I'll tell you what type of ingredients are used for each type of fragrance. So the way that I organize it, as you can see, they're kind of in layers. And I know it's hard to tell maybe with the camera because they're dark bottles to avoid, getting too much sunlight into the ingredients in case they're photosensitive. Which some of the fragrance ingredients are. And that's why they usually, when they say, hey, keep your colognes and stuff, keep them somewhere dark and keep them somewhere cool, because they are photo sensitive and some of them are temperature sensitive. So you don't want to ruin your cologne or make it go bad early because it's not in the right environment. So yeah, so most of them are going to be in amber colored bottles. Some of them will come in clear bottles, and that's just kind of how they come from my suppliers. But I'll organize them in different layers of what groups they are, right? So the way that I like to do it is I have all my fruits over here, all the fruity ingredients, and then I have all my citruses. These are all citruses. I have my general green notes, which are used to make kind of leafy accords. So like Kenneth Cole Black type things where they have just kind of sort of that really green note to it. I have all my aldehydes right there. Remember I was telling you guys about the aldehydes being used for kind of that soapiness, like with Versace Pour Homme, how it has that really nice soapiness to it, okay? And then I'll use my spices. My spices are back here, so stuff like eugenol, right? I have some essential oils, so some natural and some chemicals. So I'll have like cinnamon essential oil, right? Things like that. And then I'll have some of the more minty, camphoraceous type fragrance ingredients. This will be things like fresco menthe. Fresco menthe is used it's sort of like mint, but it's the cold part of the mint. So it's not minty, but it's the coldness of it. It gives that fresh coldness. It's very interesting to use, and it's very interesting to smell in general. But I use that at around 10%. So that's sort of the cold stuff or the spicy stuff. I have all of my tinctures back here, which if you don't know what a tincture is, you can actually take a raw ingredient, let's say a star anise seed, and then you chop it up and grind it up and you add alcohol, 95% ethanol. You leave it for long enough and it's gonna get that smell to it. And so you can use it for things like nutmeg, paprika, vanilla chai tea. You open the tea bag and toss it in there. So the opportunities are kind of limitless when you make tinctures. They're a little more difficult to do than it seems, but yeah. So all my gourmand ingredients, right? So vanilla, that kind of stuff. And then of course, I have some of the crystalline powders that are gourmand too, like ethyl maltol, vanillin. Vanillin is a crystalline powder. I just got another big tub of it. Look at that. It's a very fine white powder. Whereas if you see something like coumarin, which is another crystalline powder, that's in all the tonka fragrances, that tonka note, that's usually just coumarin because it's derived from the tonka bean. It's a much larger crystal. You probably can't tell, but the crystals that form are much larger in structure. And then, of course, I have ethyl vanillin, which is like vanillin, but it's much stronger. It's another fine crystalline powder. Very strong and a lot sweeter, so almost sickly sweet if you use too much of it. Then I have some of my like oak mossy type stuff. So I have Borneol Oak Moss Absolute, which is the real deal, but they limit it. So most of the time in your fragrances, they'll be using something like Veramoss, which is an artificial Oak Moss Absolute. But this is a crystalline powder too. I just dissolved it in ethanol, so it's easier to use. Then I have all my musks over here. So you know how they say in the base notes, there's a lot of musk in a lot of fragrances. So I'll have things like galaxolide. That is a very common musk. I know that you guys have smelled galaxolide, whether you know it or not. I have some other stuff like ambroxan. That's a synthetic ambergris, right? Everybody knows ambroxan. For Dior Sauvage, that made it kind of the famous, you know, ambroxan bomb, basically. And that's why recreating Dior Sauvage is a little bit easier than you would think. So yeah, ambroxan. We've got a lot of other ones. I won't even go into it, but like ambretolide, I remember in one of my videos I was talking about when you see ambret seed, they're using it as a musk, and it's a base note musk called ambretolide. It's made by Givaudan. There's ethylene brassylate is another very popular one. Anyway, so we have the musks. And then over here we have all the florals, tons of florals. As you guys know, I mean, every fragrance has at least some florals, even the masculine ones most of the time. So I'll get into those later. And then all the woods, tons of woody notes, right? We'll have mostly cedarwood and sandalwood. Those are the two most common woods that you will use in perfumery. Okay, so cedarwood, you can use things like cedar amber, cedar essential oil. You can use clear wood. That's a very nice, crisp, clean woody note. You'll see that in Tarathi Blue by Afnan, if you're familiar with that fragrance. Wysamber K, made by Simrise. That's another great fragrance molecule that's cedarwood. And the very famous ISO E Super. Okay, so if you know things like Terre de Hermes, okay, that really popularized the use of ISO E Super. But the thing is, almost every fragrance that you're going to smell these days, guys, when you go to the store, they almost all have ISO E Super in it, because it is a booster molecule. Yes, it's cedar, but everything has cedar in the base, and it boosts the notes of everything else. It makes it louder. It gives it projection, right? So ISO E Super, great molecule. I have a larger container of it, but I kind of decanted into there to use. Things like Coniferan Pure, that's another cedar wood. We have Norlimbinol as cedar. Let's see, what else is cedar? Cedrol, obviously. Cedrol is another crystal. You can see that it's crystallized, and I have to kind of melt that down a little and get it back into solution, but Cedrol. What else is another good cedar? There's a couple other ones. Amber Extreme is a great cedar, very powerful though. So you can only use that at like 1% unless you want to overdose it and just kind of make a cedar bomb, which is also fun to do. So then there's also sandalwood. Sandalwood, guys, I know you love sandalwood. It's in things like Bleu de Chanel in the base notes. It's a very nice creamy wood, right? So there's so many choices for sandalwood. We've got things like Bactinol, Ebenol. What else is a good sandalwood? Norlimbinol. No, not Norlimbinol. Sandalore is one. Sanginol is a good one. Santolif is a good one. Polysantol. Anything that kind of sounds like sant. They usually have a sandalwood smell to it. I have an Arabian sandalwood fragrance oil that's already pre-made. And then Australian sandalwood essential oil right here as well. So lots of choices for sandalwood. And then of course in the front I have sort of your smoky notes, some of your general just weird notes that don't really fit in any other categories. So this will be things like rectified birch tar. Very smoky. When you smell things like Club de Nuit, Intense Man, if you've ever smelled that, it's got that smokiness to it. And that birch is in the base notes, right? It's birch tar, rectified. So I would use this even only at like 0.5%, 0.5%, even just a drop of that will make it very smoky, like a fire smoke, that kind of smokiness. We've got safraline and some other leather ingredients. Those are great. Geocol, right? If you ever heard of guaiacol or geocol, geoc wood, they use the oil from that at 1%, and it's a very nice smoky woody smell. Suederol is another great leather material. Got some patchouli, some real patchouli. I get mine from Indonesia because Indonesia has a really nice dark patchouli. I have benzoin, which is a great resinoid, right? If you like amber fragrances like Aqua Essenzial Blue or Dylan Blue, they have a lot of amber in the base, right? So amber is made using benzoin, okay? This is a 50% solution because otherwise it's so sticky, it's hard to deal with. So it's half alcohol and half benzoin. Nice dark liquid. Labdanum, I have Labdanum Absolute. Remember, I always tell you guys it's from the rock rose shrubs. I think this one is sourced from Spain and I use it at about 25%, so it gives that nice ambery note to it. I've got some tobacco ingredients, some frankincense. I've got caryophyllene oxide, which is another great smoky note, kind of carroty, but also smoky. It's very strange, but very nice once you smell it. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot more obviously that I can go into, but there's some great citruses in there. Things like lemonile. If you've smelled a lot of cleaning products, they'll have that kind of harsh lemon smell. That's from lemonile and citral. I've got methyl pamplemousse, which is a great grapefruit note. So if you know Light Blue Forever by Dolce & Gabbana, it reeks of methyl pamplemousse, but in a good way, because it's a very fresh, ripe grapefruit. Dihydromercenol. In most men's fragrances, you're going to see a little bit of DHM. Great fragrance ingredient. It's like lavender, but it's also like citrus, a little bit of both. Limetol and dimetol, those are also both great citrus ingredients. I have some clementine essential oil from Italy. Bergamot is always great. I like to use Bergamot Givco. It's bergamot essential oil, but with all of the allergens, the potential allergens, removed by Givaudan. So they source that and they send that to me. It's endless. I know, I'm getting excited talking about it. Triplol is a nice green note that gives sort of a little freshness to your citruses. You know, sometimes you need a little bit of greenness to really boost those citruses out. Things like, you know, IBQ, isobutylquinoline, hexanyl cis-3 salicylate, hex-3-cis just in general is also very great. It smells like fresh green grass. So if you're familiar with, what's that one? White, Lacoste white, or some of the Lacoste ones, they have that green, like almost grassy, like fresh grass. That's from hex-3-cis. Very great ingredient, very powerful. This is 10%. I would only use even 1 drop of 10% hex-3-cis. You can also use great green ingredients like undecavernol, styrolyl acetate, or violetine. Violetine, if you know Dior Fahrenheit, they used a lot of violetine. I actually made a clone of it recently for my brother. He loves it. It's violetine. It makes kind of that greenness that's in it, in addition to amyl vinyl carbonol, which is sort of mushroomy, but also sort of like gasoline, but in a good way. So yeah, amyl vinyl carbonol, that's a little more nuanced, a little more advanced, but if you're able to use that correctly, you know, that's a great ingredient. And then I have some aquatics, right? If you guys like Dolce & Gabbana or those light blue, you know, that sort of aquatic fragrances. Something like Cologne, made by Firmenich, at 10% is really great. This is just in dipropylene glycol. But Cologne gives that fresh watermelon note that everybody's familiar with you know, things like... yeah, I mean, Dolce & Gabbana, the one, any really aquatic basically is going to have that. I have even more cologne. I have Helionol, which is another great fresh note that gives that kind of aquatic vibe. Precyclamone B is also very great for it. Adoxal, very powerful, very, be careful with it. I'm not familiar with any fragrances that use it, but it's used in things that give... you know, a lot of like laundry detergents use Adoxal because it has that fresh linen kind of vibe and it's very powerful, so you don't have to use very much, so it's cheap. So be careful with that one. But Yeah, I mean, there's so much. I mean, I can go on if you guys want. You know, methyl laetone if you want coconut in your fragrances, like in, gosh, what was the, I don't know, any coconut. I'm trying to remember some coconut fragrances, coconut notes in your fragrances. Methyl laetone is a great way to go. You can also use delta decalactone is another great kind of creamy, you know, lactone. They're kind of that creamy smell to them, and it adds a nice creaminess to your coconut. Let's see, what else? Isobutavan is great for your vanillas, but it gives it sort of a white chocolate kind of smell. So if you have any of those, mostly women's fragrances, then you smell kind of that white chocolate vanilla sort of thing wafting by you. That might be isobutavan, something like that. Another very big one, oh man, ethyl maltol, okay? Baccarat Rouge, you know, we're talking Baccarat Rouge, we're talking all of their clones, we're talking anything that's super sweet and cotton candy and burnt sugar smelling. It's ethyl maltol, another crystalline powder, very great material. Methylcyclopentenolone is really good, but it's very rare that you'd see it. It has sort of a burnt maple kind of smell to it. So if you want some nice maple syrup in your fragrance, kind of a maple syrup accord, try looking into methylcyclopentenolone. That's a great ingredient right there. What else do we got in there? Got some like Tonka stuff that I made. Another great one is Fir Balsam Reconstitution. Okay, so that's a natural, and you can use that to make like a Christmas tree type accord in combination with something that's more terpy. You know, you need something that's the resin of the tree, right, to create this Christmas tree. So you need that Fir Balsam Reconstitution. And then you need something like the needles of the tree. So you need something like alpha terpenine, okay? So this is very terpy. It's very like almost citrusy, but very camphoraceous, almost spicy to the nose, that green top notes that you smell in a Christmas tree. Really great materials. So yeah, I mean, there's hundreds of them out there. There's even more that I don't own, but it's a lot of fun. I hope that kind of gave a little bit of insight into how your fragrances are made. Oh, eugenol. Okay, eugenol is great for any like spice bomb, things like that. Any sort of clove note. Eugenol is what is used because the essential oil of clove is around 70% or more of eugenol. So that gives it sort of a cleaner vibe of it. Trying to think if there's any other really good ones to give you a look at. Linalool. Okay, linalool you'll see on the back of almost every fragrance thing because here, puppy. Because it's very important in floral accords. Sorry, that was my cat. It's very important in floral accords, especially if you combine it to round it out with something like ethyl linalool or linalool acetate. Combining the acetates and the ethyl version of stuff, it just gives kind of a more well-rounded, you know, smoother feel to every fragrance. And you know that we like having a smooth fragrance. It should feel very well-rounded, no harsh edges to it, right? So something like that would be really great. Ione beta is a very nice, a nice violet note. What else do we have here that's really good? Benzyl acetate. Most white florals are made with benzyl acetate, or benzyl salicylate is another great one. Methyl gamma. You'll see that on the back of a lot of fragrance containers. That's a really great one. It just smooths out every fragrance. It kind of serves as a blender as well. It's a great blending material. So yeah, I hope you guys liked it. I mean, this is what I'm dealing with, you know, whenever I'm talking in my videos about, hey, maybe they're using this material, maybe they're using this material, and you guys are like, what does he know? How does he know all these materials, or what is he even talking about? Is he making that up? Does he really make fragrances? So here it is. That's what I do. yeah, so let me know what you think of the video. I just wanted to do something special for you guys for the 50th one. Thanks for joining and subscribing along the way. It's been awesome so far making these videos. Let me know if you want to see kind of a tutorial ever. Maybe I'll make one of those kinds of videos someday of how to do fragrances and how to make your own, just kind of a DIY. But yeah. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one.